See how this goes. Hi, Deborah. How are you doing? Oh,
No, you're fine. I think it's when it starts recording that it does a jump.
okay.
So
So,
now
hi.
everything.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And I can hear and see you just fine. Good.
Okay.
So it's nice to see you. How are
Nice.
you doing?
We're doing good. We're getting settled.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's nice to get to connect with you again. The last time we talked, we spent a great deal of time just getting to know each other and doing all of the formalities. So I hope this opportunity to learn from you will be a good experience.
Okay.
So let me ask you a little bit. Um, I know that you've recently moved to Yuba City. You had touched a bit about your experience and the loss from the campfire. Could you maybe shed a little bit more light about your experience and where you are now?
So, like I said before, I was locked out of the fire because I was already at work and my kids were in the fire. So I was locked out of the town and I couldn't get in. So I had to talk my daughter through as she drove out, and then my son had to get picked up from my friend to get driven out from up above. So that was really stressful. And come to find out, my daughter lost her home, and then I lost my home, and throughout all the devastation.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I truly am. That's a lot of loss, and that sounds like a very frightening situation to have to go through.
Yes, yes, we lost our pets. We only saved one dog and one cat so far, and we have another cat running around the neighborhood. But the rest of our animals all perished in the fire.
Oh, Deborah, that must have been hard for you.
Yes, but we got a new puppy, and we're learning why we don't get puppies
Uh,
on a daily.
so there's a lot of change going on for you right now.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you're in a new home, you're establishing yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, we now live an hour from Chico, so I have to commute an hour to work versus 30 minutes. So that's, I'm not a morning person. And so that's a transition. And my son had decided to obviously switch schools, but he's continuing with Paradise Unified this year, and then we'll be switching to Marysville High. We're next to the house we're purchasing next week.
Wow. So that sounds like quite a lot, and what a big change.
Yes, because we're flatlanders versus hill people. We're not used to being in the flatland.
You had a lot of trees where you were, a lot of
Well,
hills.
right. And it's just going to be hotter. So we made sure we had central air in the new house versus the swamp cooler. And, it's just the changes of, we need to make sure we're on top of it.
Right. And you had mentioned that you are purchasing the home there in Yuba. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes. Because we were fully insured because we were at the other house for 19 years. So we're buying into another house. And then in 3 years, we'll figure out if we want to rebuild up on the hill.
Wow. 19 years, that's a long time.
Yes. My son's never lived anywhere else. So it's a huge transition for him.
So is he your only child?
No, I have a daughter who's also a mother. So I'm a grandmother of two and a mother of two. So my daughter is older, so she lived in a few houses before we moved in there, but she was only two when we moved in. So
So a lot of memories, but sounds like you've got a fresh start and you're making a lot of changes and you're adjusting. How are you doing with that?
I'm adjusting slowly. Um, Due to my job being consistent, that helps, and knowing the pay and knowing what I have to work with, whereas other families have lost all their jobs as well. So at least my job front's secure, and my other family's secure. So they didn't lose their homes; they were higher up on the hill. So
So that's reassuring to you, it sounds like, to know that they're okay.
yes, yes. My grandmother's 96, so at least her house survived, and my parents were in their 70s, so their house is okay. So they're away from the ash and stuff. So health wise, they should be okay.
So that's a that's a lot of things to be thankful for, it
Ab-
sounds like.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Deborah, you talked a little bit about your job. You had mentioned that you were new in as a social worker in this new position. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that for me?
So I'm working with foster children as well as the foster parents. We advocate for the foster parents because they foster for our agency, and then we also advocate for the kids for the county. And then we also work with the THP kids, which is the transitional kids, the kiddos that are going from childhood to adulthood. And so I have a few of those cases on my load for my internship. And then I have a couple foster parents and about 6 kids that are foster on my caseload right now.
That's a lot.
Well, with some still half a caseload, and I also run their CIP program, which is a community integration program with a developmentally disabled client that we have. So I'm the coordinator for that. So my plate is full, but there's room so I can help out with other things in the office.
Okay. So how is your internship going?
I believe it's going really well. We're a small office, so it makes life easier than a complicated office. So I work directly with the person overseeing my internship, which is nice, and I see her daily. So we chit chat, and she's going to have me help her with some of her clients and sit in on some of her counseling sessions and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
It sounds cool. It sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, most definitely.
It sounds like you're able to take your prior experience and apply it to your internship as far as work, the clients that you work with, and the opportunities you have there. So that's great.
Yeah.
So I was wanting to ask you about some of the challenges that you have currently as a mom, as a student. What things are working well for you, and what things maybe are a barrier for you at this time?
The commute has been a challenge because instead of just 30 minutes to work, now it's an hour and sometimes an hour and 20 minutes, depending on traffic, because of the influx of people at the bottom of the hill versus, I mean, there's over 20 something thousand people that are displaced. So we're all in the valley somewhere. And then also just balancing my son's education because he's now being homeschooled and making sure that we have the time for him to meet with his teachers an hour away from the house, but then not leave him in Chico all day because he
So
is a
those
teenager,
those are two.
you know.
Yeah,
So time
sure.
management.
Sure. What do you and your son like to do together when you guys have time?
Well, lately it's been homework. It's a fun bonding experience. I'm doing my homework for ASU, and then he just does his homework for high school. And also we'll go and get dinner or whatever, and he'll vent and talk. And just we're basically it's connecting us closer, versus he's learning new, he has to meet new friends and everything. So it's all a transition because all of our friends live over an hour away. So we're just, hey, let's go get food, So we're just learning the town and get lost,
Sure.
find the main road again, and then turn on another road and see where we end up.
I really appreciate your willingness to share and your candidness about your experience, what you've been through, what your family has been through, and how you're transitioning. I think it's a very unique opportunity to speak with somebody who is a campfire evacuee who has suffered so much loss, but who is really embracing the change. And so I just want to thank you for that. I do really appreciate your willingness to share.
Oh, no problem. We're calling ourselves the survivors versus the victims. We survived. There's 86 losses thus far that they're talking about. So we all survived somehow.
Right. And your story inspires a lot of other people. Um, but you're the first person that I've had this opportunity to speak with who is directly impacted. And so I thank you for that. I just wanted to touch on one other issue, if I could, and that's the fact that you're a grad student in a social work program. Can you tell me, and you're pretty close to graduating, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I'll be graduating at, well, we get to walk in May apparently, but I'll be finishing up. I believe June 14th is what I found on the computer. So it's just basically waiting for the internship and the last part, and then my studies will be over. Not that I'm
And
counting down the days.
congratulations on your journey and on your pending graduation. I wish you all the very best. Um, is there any questions that you have for me? It sounds like you're doing okay. Is there anything that I should be asking that I haven't asked you?
um, I think the coping, like what am I doing to cope? I think the main
Yeah,
thing I've learned is not to let the little things get to me now, and allow for people to vent to me that are also hurting, and just not take it personal because we're all angry. Yet at the same time, we need to, you know, release the anger, in some way, because I had, my sons yelled at me a few times, not at me, but just towards just life. And it's like, it's okay, it's okay to release.
I appreciate you sharing those coping skills. They sound like they're very helpful for you.
So,
Well, thank you, Deborah, so much for the opportunity to meet with you again. I look forward to our next session, and I'm going to go ahead and end the call at this time.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, you take care.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.